I watched all of Adolescence last night in one unbroken sitting. For 2 hours afterwards, I couldn't stop thinking and talking about the depiction of masculinity and the lack of empathy in some parts of the show. So obviously, this video is going to be a spoiler. At first, I'm going to talk about the problem with the psychologist in episode 3. And then I'm going to talk about the problem of the language around red pilling and toxic masculinity. And lastly, I'm going to talk about the depiction of women in the family. I'm going to start with the really disturbing lack of empathy from the psychologist when she's interrogating Jamie in the training facility. I try to empathize with all sides of a story when I'm listening to it. So I saw that we were able to connect with how disturbed and shook the psychologist was as she was self-soothing and breathing deeply in the room afterwards. That was a profound moment, and I really felt for how uncomfortable, unsafe, and just outright disturbed she was. That interaction with Jamie was very gross and unsettling. I got it, and I felt so bad for the woman. At the same time, I didn't get a chance to connect with Jamie. He was being asked one question after another, not from a place of genuinely trying to connect with what's alive in him, which is how we get our understanding of an understanding. She was just asking him questions to see where he would fit in her diagnosis of him. And once she got an answer that she wanted, she quickly moved on to another question without pausing, without helping this child process some profoundly difficult realizations. When he opened up about how horrible the facility was, which of course, it's a total fucking nightmare to be separated from your family and held in a center with people screaming. And instead of sitting with him there, all she said was, "Can't help you, sit down, answer the next question, sit down." In the middle of him having a meltdown. You do not talk over someone when they're freaking out like that. That is not the way to de-escalate a situation. The only kindness that she offered him was bribery with shitty food, and that wasn't kindness, that was manipulation. There was no pausing and empathizing with him to try to get him to open up more so that she could really understand him. People open up more, by the way, if you show them that you're connected with what they're feeling. And they open up less if they feel like you're interrogating them and trying to trap them in their words, which is what Jamie said that he felt. There was absolutely no mirroring done. And it fed into this psychological thriller trope of a brilliant mind or of a detective or a psychologist who understands the minds of others and can find clues in their words. And it taps into our inner Sherlock fetish of believing that we could read the minds of others through subtle clues. And that is just unhealthy bullshit and a trope that needs to die. That's not a healthy message that we need to keep on perpetuating. And then she came to her diagnosis of him. She came to her conclusion near the end of the episode. And once she knew what she thought of him, she rushed him through the rest of the process. Do you know what it means to have killed someone? I'm done my assessment, Jamie, and I'm never going to see you again. So go fuck off somewhere. Guard, come on, take him away. Jamie was desperate for connection and understanding from somebody, from anybody, from this person here who pretended to care and be interested, and he was begging her for some more care, just some more time, because he knew that in the facility, he was never going to receive it again. Jamie is a murderer, sure, but he's also a victim of horrible circumstances, and both can be true at the same time. Episode 2 shows us the complete shit show of a school that he was in, where teachers are more like security guards that are keeping children penned up in a system. He was utterly and publicly humiliated by his victim. He was neglected by his father, who had to work till late at night. And his father was also embarrassed by his son's lack of physical prowess in football. He was a victim of a challenging financial situation. And he's also a victim of the red pill programming that perpetuates a lack of empathy. And he was small and scrawny, and he was told that he was never going to have a partner for the rest of his life. Now, all stories, according to Noel Yuval Harari, I keep on fucking up his name, the guy that wrote Sapiens and Nexus. He said that all stories are biological. And, interestingly, something like 80% of animals die as incels. That is a deep-rooted fear, to be told that you're unlovable, that you'll never find a partner. That is super damaging and very challenging. He's a child that wasn't taught ways to express himself. He wasn't taught how to healthily connect with others, and wasn't given much space at all to be heard and felt. Nobody is born a murderer. They're nurtured into being one in the system that they're in with the cards that they've been dealt. And for that, I think we could empathize. However, I don't think that the show gave us space enough to do that. We were given space to do that with many other characters, to connect silently with the psychologist while she was breathing in the room afterwards, to connect with the mother when she was crying, to connect with the father in the very last scene. We even connected with the bodybuilding detective in his car, but I don't remember having that space to connect with Jamie. At the same time, the last episode is where you hear from the father in just about a damn near unintelligible accent. I had so much difficulty following what he was saying. But we heard that his father used to beat him, and he swore that he would never be like that with his children. I heard the same from my father about what he swore he'd never be like based on how his mother treated him. And yet, we see such a really poor way that his father handled the situation in the last episode by assaulting a child and having a meltdown in the parking lot. Yes, we are given time to empathize what he's going through, which is, without a doubt, unbelievably fucking horrible. My God, what a terrible situation that he's in. And in the example of how he's processing it, we are clearly shown what not to do. And then we hear about Jamie getting red-pilled, and we're given the message that this is not what to do either. And so here's probably my biggest gripe. I've been shown so many examples of what not to do in life. Can I please see some healthy depictions of what to do? We've seen so many glorified anti-heroes for so long, the Walter Whites and the Don Drapers. Where are the people that we can model our behavior from? When I grew up watching basketball, I loved Kobe Bryant. I loved his form, and I would see it on TV, and then I'd go to the court and I'd practice it, and I'd shout, "Kobe," as I would hit a spinning baseline fadeaway. I have no Kobe Bryants for masculinity. I don't see healthy examples. Mr. Rogers was one, but it's really hard for me to remember others. I've heard the dialogue that this show makes it so that you have to talk with your kids at home. Children don't learn just by having conversations with their parents. They learn by what they see on TV. No one knows how to empathize naturally. These are skills and patterns to be mimicked and taught. So please, mainstream media, start teaching others and stop warning them. Wow, I went on for a long time there, hey? I felt a lot of empathy for the mother and the sister in the last episode. That whole episode focused on how the father lost his shit, didn't consider his wife or daughter at all, and just dragged his family along with him for the ride, just as Jamie did in some ways, acting for himself without consideration of the women in his life. And then when they get home after the father's public meltdown, the mother has to cry silently into her jacket, sniff up her tears, wipe her face, and deactivate herself, and hold space for her husband, who doesn't even want to have the conversation. The daughter at the end, who also had her life completely destroyed by the actions of her brother, has to play it cool and step into a parentified role for her father, who just can't control his shit. Women are taught to deactivate and disassociate from their pain to soothe men who don't know how to do that for themselves. Again, this isn't to blame men, nor is it to excuse them. This is just a result of men not being shown how to healthily process their emotions. And through depictions on TV, they're shown that hyperactivation and aggression and meltdowns are the way to go. Don't talk about it with anybody and just keep it all up until you fucking erupt and irreparably damage the community and the family that you're a part of. I am really getting bored of all this postmodern media, of doom and gloom, of horrible situations with no solutions offered. Just take a look at this shit show. Life sucks. Deal with it. Please stop focusing on anti-heroes and instead show me examples of men and women who take care of their health, both physically and emotionally, who could show up for others and show up for themselves with some grace and respect. I'm desperate for this kind of depiction. You can do it, Hollywood. Come on now. I believe in you. Thanks for watching this video. I definitely got really passionate here. Wow. Fuck. What a gross show. That was gross.